It's time for City Beat, your source for all the latest news on the city of Thompson. Only on 102.9 CHTM, your radio station.
Good morning and welcome to this September 15th edition of City Beat here on 102.9 CHTM. My name is Stuart Walter, and this morning I'm joined by Mayor Dennis Fenske.
Good morning.
Let's start off by talking about City Council. We'll start first by talking about the regular meeting, which would be a week ago this past Monday. There's a few things we didn't get to last week. First of all, there's a letter from Minister Stephenson with regards to the CSO funding. What did the letter say, and is it good or bad news, or just not really any news at all, really?
Basically, it's an update on the process. We've made known to Minister Stephenson and the province of Manitoba that we would like to continue the funding, the 50-50 funding that's been in place for the last 2 years for the CSOs. And so we've made application to them. We've provided them an evaluation of the program. They're reviewing that information. And the letter basically outlined that they are still reviewing that information, and they'll get back to us into further discussions as to cost sharing the program of the community safety officers.
Now, there is an AMM City Caucus meeting in Portage La Prairie on September 26th. What is the meeting? As I just said, it's happening on the 26th. Who's going and why is it important to be there?
The AMM Cities Caucus is a subcommittee of AMM, which is the Association of Manitoba Municipalities. We hosted this meeting last September in Thompson for the first time, and it's all the mayors and CAOs of the cities, which is basically larger than 5,000 or 7,000 people. And so it's to discuss common areas of interest. When we were here last September, we brought everybody up to speed in regards to the economic impacts of valet decisions and current economic developments, and as well as Churchill and Omnitrax and the port and all of that. So this year we'll meet as a group in Portage and discuss the ongoing issues. Most recently, the budget consultation that the province has announced. We'll prepare a position on behalf of the cities to present to the province and have some input into that discussion as well.
The most talked about and I want to say controversial issue, well, second most actually, from the last council meeting was the naming of the community center. You were not in the room for that, as you declared conflict of interest. What are your thoughts on the whole situation?
Well, I think we went through a process, and process in regards to resolutions. For those that are unaware, that we act by resolution or by bylaw as the City Council, and in the case of a tie, any vote that's tied is automatically defeated. That's the rule of law from the Municipal Act. So there was discussions on both sides in regards to the resolution that was before us. I understand that there were strong positions on both sides. Unfortunately, with me being absent, it gave an even number of votes, which meant it went to a 4-4 vote, which by process means that it was defeated. So we move on from there.
There's always usually a memo when it comes to a resolution on the agenda, either from the city manager or someone else involved with background information. And part of that background information for the TRCC naming was that $50,000 was going to be coming from valet to the city of Thompson for public space and equipment upgrades, and that money is not going to be coming to the city anymore. That's my understanding, which is something that people don't seem to know all that much about. They just know that the name has changed. Is the city going to have to find that funding somewhere else, or are the upgrades not just going to happen the same way? Well,
the funding from the naming rights was a revenue stream that was being identified to support ongoing programming within the city, such as concerts in the park that Valet's always contributed to in the past, and buying tickets, block tickets for the AAA games and things like that, as well as the upgrade for signage that would have had to take place for the community center. And so, given that we are going into budget deliberations next month for the 2018 budget, we will now have to examine an alternative revenue stream for that money that won't be available.
Now, the most controversial item, it seemed, at City Council at the last regular meeting was the sale of used goods. Could you clarify the city's process when it comes to selling off those items? It seemed there was some confusion with a few councillors.
And not understanding the confusion. The process is pretty straightforward. It's been going on for years in regards to excess equipment, whether it be trucks or equipment packers or things like that. The process is that we determine what the value is of the piece of equipment. In some cases, we set a reserve bid so that we're not giving it away in that sense if the value of the equipment is deemed to be fairly high. We put it up for tender, and those that are interested in any of the pieces of equipment can supply that tender based on that. If it's above the reserve bid, then it goes to the highest tender. If it's below the reserve bid, then council has an opportunity to enforce our reserve bid and not accept the other ones. Or through resolution, we could choose, if it's close, we could choose to accept a bid, conditional that that was the only other bid or something like that. And in some cases where there are no bids on equipment, we have options. Those that contain a lot of metal can be sold for scrap. In the bicycle for situations, sometimes we donate to the Boys and Girl Club. They have a bicycle repair club, and so we could donate things like that. Other equipment we could donate to other community organizations if no one's interested in it. But basically, if it's not tendered or not purchased, in most cases it will go to scrap.
Moving on from the regular meeting, there is a special meeting of council late last week. Why was it called, and why was it so time sensitive to have that done?
Basically, it was a timing issue, you're right. Because the Maple Leaf was here, the contractor was in town doing paving works. We went through our paving program and our capital program, and the cemetery project was additionally identified in the 2017 budget. It was approved, given that the other capital works came in within budget. If other works, the road works, came in over budget, then we were going to sacrifice the cemetery project until next year. Unfortunately, through the good work of both the contractor and the city administration, the works came in under budget for the other projects, so that freed up the approved project of the cemetery road. And so we talked to the contractors here. They gave us a price. We talked to them a couple times, and timing-wise, they're here now, and so to take advantage of them being in town and not having to pay mobilization and remobilization, things like that, we're going ahead with that job. So it was a timing sensitive issue because of the contractor being in town, but I want to emphasize it was a pre-approved budget item in the 2017 budget that all of council agreed to, with the caveat that if we were over budget in the major works, that we would cancel that project and not do it. Seeing that we were under budget in the major works, it allowed us to move ahead with the cemetery project.
Now that we are back into the full swing of things, there will be a council meeting on Monday. What can the public expect as far as the agenda for Monday's regular meeting?
Well, the agenda will be available Friday at 4 in regards to general resolutions and bylaws. We have a number of presentations to make. Again, we're making an effort to recognize local success stories in athletics, in arts, and in organizational structures. And so there'll be some certificates awarded again, and we look forward to that. Other than that, it starts at 7 o'clock. It's at City Hall. Everyone's welcome to come out.
Will you be starting to enforce the 10-minute cap on the general inquiries at the start of the meeting? Listening to the recordings from the past few weeks, it's gotten up to almost double that.
Yeah, I've been fairly liberal in allowing people to ask the questions during the general inquiries, but I think in the last couple, it's got a little extended, and I may have to take a harder line in enforcing the 10-minute rule that we have. And that's 10 minutes total for everyone, not 10 minutes per person. So we'll have to look at that and certainly be cognizant of the fact of everyone's time and commitment to the meeting itself.
Moving on from City Council, this is a really busy weekend here in the city. It seems like if something's going to happen this month, it's happening this weekend. Can you fill us in on some of the events going on?
Yeah, for sure. And it usually starts as a result of a Leisure Op weekend that was last week, and that's kind of the kickoff of registrations and getting back into the swing of things. And so with that, as you mentioned, there are a number of things happening this weekend. The Aurora Fest 150 kickoff starts on the 15th. It runs for a whole week. There's a number of events. You can go on the Thompson.ca site. There's ads in the paper in regards to the events as well. So lots to take advantage of, and please do. The WCA is also hosting their annual Walk a Mile event, and that's on Saturday. So you walk a mile in the red high-heeled shoes. Invite all the guys out to come out and do a fundraiser for the Y. It's a great program. I've been involved with it in many occasions. I won't be this year because I'm double booked with the Aurora Fest. So I encourage everyone to come out for that. The other is the Pride March. Again, annually, we're one of the communities in Manitoba that supports the Pride Community March and events, and proud to do that. And so recognizing that. And lastly, the Terry Fox Run, the annual Terry Fox Run on Sunday. Again, I'll be participating in that, and I'll encourage everyone to come out and support the Terry Fox Foundation and initiative as they fight for a cure of cancer.
It's not this weekend, but it's next weekend. There's the Residential Household Hazardous Waste Day, and that's just something that everyone should keep in their back of their minds. It's not something that comes along.
Absolutely. So it's Saturday, September 23rd at the City Hall parking lot from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. There's lots of materials that can be accepted. Examples, there's a long list, but I'll just pick a few. Some paints and pesticides, glues, drain cleaners, gas, must be in an approved container that won't be returned, rust removers and solvents and things like that. Batteries will be accepted and taken to the landfill collection site for later removal. And so just for inquiries, we can call the TRCC, the Thompson Recycling Center at 204-677-7991. And again, that's next Saturday, September 23rd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the City Hall parking lot.
And finally, still have a bit to talk about with regards to construction. What is still going on and what's been completed? So
we're in the final stages. We're finishing up. We have got a little bit of paving to finish up next week. We should be done. The weather looks decent. It's been great all summer long for construction, and so we have a number of water breaks that we had over the winter and last summer that we've prepped for paving. Selkirk is done. There's some spot paving done as well. All the paving stones are back in place and the curb work is done. So it's basically finishing up, and the multi-use path is finished as well. So that's good work on that. I just want to again give a shout out to all the residents of Beaver and Staghorn and Deerwood with their patience throughout the summer with their construction. As soon as the equipment and all of the materials are removed, we will be in there with sweepers to clean those 3 streets specifically. And also congrats, or well, I should say thank you to all the businesses downtown for their patience as we went through the construction on Selkirk Avenue. Again, it was a long summer, but well worth it when you look at the end product. So thanks again.
Well, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Thank you.
If you have a question you'd like answered next week, email them in advance to CHTMnews@arcticradio.ca. For City Beat here on 102.9 CHTM, I'm Stuart Walter.
City Beat will be back next Thursday morning.